You've had such an interesting career, and it's taken so many different roads. I mean, it started back when you were still a teenager. You picked up and left your hometown up in upstate New York.
Yeah.
What made you want to leave at such an early age?
I couldn't wait to get going.
Did you know?
As a friend of mine said, the morning after I graduated was the first morning I ever got up early. I was ready to get going.
You knew what you wanted to do?
Well, it's upstate New York. It's small town, nestled in a little valley, a lot of snow. I always wondered what was going on out in the big world, and I wanted to go south.
So off you went.
Yeah.
And I recently read actually that you, at a young age, hooked up with a blues man named Babe Stovall.
Babe Stovall, yeah.
How did you meet him?
We were street singing in New Orleans, a bunch of kids, and us in the early 60s, about 61, 2, 3, somewhere's in there. And Babe had just come down from Franklinton, Louisiana, and he was doing carpentry work for a guy that ran Preservation Hall, Alan Jaffe, and was also out street singing at night to make extra money. And we kind of crossed paths a couple times and kind of became buddies.
What did he teach you about being out on the on the road there?
One day we were playing. We were really. I had the hat on the ground, and a lot of money was going into it. And I said, "Babe, we're really making a killing." He said, "We had this place we used to go get good wine." Babe said, "I think it's time we go to Johnny Matatz's and get a little wine." I said, "Babe, we're really racking it up here." And Babe looked down and he said, "Well, you know, just because a horse will go, don't mean you got to ride it to death." So on that chuckle, I picked up my hat and we walked off. So I guess that's the thing is, well, once you've been a street singer, you kind of got this idea that you're free, and the music set you free. So we would play when we had to and spend our money when we got it.
Do you still retain that feeling nowadays? Yeah. You still feel that way?
Yeah, I'm a little more punctual than I used to be, but I don't tour very long. I mean, I go a week, 10 days, and then I'm home. And I have a house in New Orleans, and I have a house in Belize, so I like to go back and forth. I mean, today I was just thinking, well, it'd be nice to be down the French Quarter. But,
yeah, definitely.
Well, but this is as close as we can get here with the House of Blues.
That's true. It's
yeah,
a little piece of it.
Little piece of that feeling here.
By the end of the 60s, you had already written, and you're still a very young man at that point, it's already written the song that would bring you your first taste of notoriety, Mr. Bojangles. Did you expect that song would have such an impact?
No, I don't think anyone really does. I mean, any of the songs, you're writing good songs, you're trying to tell your story well, whatever it is, and how much it's accepted or liked is you have no control over, really. You know, the internet business may change a lot of that because we sell a lot of people down people's throats. And with people picking and choosing their own music, they may just gravitate where they will, which will really frustrate their so-called record business. But I find it's very exciting, and I think it should be free and move around.
Oh, interesting. You're one of the few people actually.
I'm in Roger McGuinn's camp. The royalties they got. I mean, I make my living by playing and traveling, and the music's there for the people to enjoy, and I make a small portion off that, but you know, it's really
live shows that keep everything going.
Yeah, and I think people should pick and choose their music. It makes them go find stuff they like, you know.
By 1971, you wound up in Austin, Texas for a big part of it, and stayed there for a while. What was it about that city?
I actually hitchhiked in there first in 64, 65. I was traveling around the country, but I was going my way west. And I kind of went in there and looked around and said, yeah, I like this. A big town, big college, small town. Nice combination. A lot of bodies to put in the clubs. And it was cheap to live there. It was the cheapest city of its size to live in. And then I started noticing Texans really liked their life sung about, their stories told. And that suited me real well. So I had to make some other trips to New York and pay my dues and do that. And then I finally wound up going back in 71 and buying a house and just staying there.
How long did you stay there?
I've been there up until this past weekend.
So that's sort of the main. You have a home there and in New Orleans, and you're all over the place. That's great.
I get a lot of doorknobs.
So living there in Texas, did it affect the way that you write music?
Yeah, I mean, the way I like to write, I'm country-oriented song or folk songwriter. From the folk music field, I learned the stories of mine disasters, train wrecks, great murders, and things of that sort. And Bob Dylan once said, "There's more mystery and stuff in there than you could ever dream up in some of the old folk tales and stories." And so, I thought, what a nice circle of life to be working where I could sing about like my children, my wife, my friends, the Manny the Hat Maker, Charlie the Bootmaker, cowboys and things of that sort who populate the life and everything, and describe the smells and sounds of where you live.
And that city was more conducive to that because people were, that's how they lived their lives.
And with the young kids being able to come to the bar and buy the tickets, they weren't so much, we weren't in the center of the eye of the attention, so they came really judged you by how well you did it. If they liked it, they applauded. They didn't, they weren't sure. And then as we became more famous with Redneck Mother and London Homesick Blues and those kind of things, then they started hollering it when you get in there. We go, wait a minute, you used to just take what we played. So anyway.
That city also, though, brought out another side of you. I mean, you had quite a reputation as the partier for a while there.
It was the party capital there in the '60s. Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Did you ever feel?
I always enjoyed it. I mean, I was young and I didn't want to sleep.
Right.
I mean, there was a lot of life going on, and it was a town you could do that in. Rent was $120 a month, and the light bill was $9, and so 3 guys could get a house, come up with $25 a piece or something, and you know, it was so you'd play 1 or 2 gigs, and you could party for a couple of weeks. And we every Sunday, what we do is we go up to a guy's had a little ranch out by the lake, and everybody chip in by 3 or 4 halves of beer, and all the bands would meet and jam.
Oh, wow.
And the girls all showed up to hang out, so it was just dancing and dogs and chicks and booze and, you know, beer and stuff. And that's how we started calling it the Austin Interchangeable Dance Band, because everybody knew everybody.
Right.
And if you were going on the road, you grabbed this lead guitar player, that drummer, and go. And we just had a lot of fun. It was just a great time to be doing it.
It sounds like a great time.
It was. It was great.
Was there ever a time where you felt like that element was leading you to a place where you might be out of control, partying wise?
Well, you know, the '60s were about boundary checking and stuff. So I was definitely out of control, probably by a lot. But we were working hard. I mean, in the book I wrote, Gypsy Song Man, which is there's talk in there, doing, you know, a couple hundred shows a year, doing, some years I did 3 albums.
Wow.
And you got to get your licks in where you can.
Exactly.
So, but I was spreading it around pretty
Right.
good. I said I've personally driven half my fans home.
Now that's a good show.
Yeah. Well, I get to Minneapolis. I could believe everybody just wanted me to go party with them, so I did. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
As the '80s approached, though, I mean, I read that you made a conscious effort to change the way you were living.
Well,
your
I
life.
hit a wall there in '79. I hit the same wall Willie hit, the IRS, and things came down, and it was a good time to reconnoiter, take a look at the wreckage and count the bodies, and I thought, well, I'll clean my physical house as well. Did some fasting, did some running, and we have a wonderful swimming, hike and bike trail there in Austin. We sit on top of this big aquifer, and everybody runs and swims around it in this park, and started doing that sort of stuff, and went back playing solo. Like I started, going out and just with my guitar and harmonicas on a rack and playing, and
Was it that? What was? I mean, so essentially, it was just like you felt your body telling you, "I got to clean things up," or else. Is that?
Well,
a fair statement?
My daughter Jessie Jane was born. Jane goes on his way. He came in '82, so she was there in '78. So it was a time to kind of just take a look at it all and figure out what's happened. Settle with the IRS. Got my books in order. Playing solo helped me refocus again. You can kind of hide behind the band thing a lot. You're a long ways away, making a lot of noise. I can't really see into your eyes.
Right,
and
right.
I was playing. Then I was going to play in 300-400 seat little clubs where you're right there.
Yeah, that must be.
And so I had to reacquaint myself with that. And so as I put the pieces back together with the band and everything, I built on top of that. So in a sense, it turned out. And we're doing fine.
And that particular time also, there was a change in your approach to making records. I mean, you'd stopped being part of I think it was like in 1982, you'd stopped being part of a major label.
Yeah, I've been with MCA for 10
album.
years, and
there was a break there between Cow Jazz and the next studio album. What happened?
From 82 to 86. Well, I actually did one in 80, and then there was a couple of years I went back to one more for MCA. It just, I never had been a radio guy per se, but FM radio had, because there's FM guy comes to me, he said, George, what happened to you? And I said, what happened to me? I'm still making the same music. What happened to you guys? FM didn't have a playlist in 1968, 1966. Right. It was, it slowly got into where it became the playlist, the format, and all this and that stuff, the free Cosmic Cowboy. I remember when we put out Lone Wolf or something, they told us about it. The station like K-Pig up around San Francisco still play that. We have, now Americana stations seem to be doing this again. Tell you who's on the record, play cuts off of every, they know their music. They know what's happened. DJs used to be hired because of their collection. That's how you got your job. If you had a nice big record collector, knew what was in it, that's how you got elected. I mean, got the job. So now anybody can sit back there and play the top 40 and just punch it out. So it changed, and so from the record people's point of view, that wasn't worth doing. So I went along and said, well, the fans. It was also with the time because CDs were coming, so there was really everybody stopped putting out albums, so all my old stuff kind of just went dormant. And I thought, well, I'll put out kind of my own double thing, and I did my first CD, and just Songman, just to sell to the audience, and that became the beginning of our company.
Of your record label.
The record label.
And you become disillusioned with the way that the big labels.
Well, what you would like to make as a profit is not what they consider profit, but we could live very comfortably on it.
Right.
So I don't know what that says about it all.
I guess one of the most original elements about having your own label was the ability to go beyond the limitations of a major label, I would imagine.
Well, I had a website long before anybody did. I was on the internet early. I can do everything. I'd been producing and doing album covers and everything. I would go in the darkroom with a photographer and would pick out the pictures and work on the shadings, and I was doing the mixing, and I was turning all the artwork in, writing the liner notes. I mean, I knew how to do the whole thing. Right. So it wasn't just a step to do it myself. I mean, that's what you're supposed to be learning as you go along. And so when they're done with you, you just don't fall out on the ground. And, and at this day and age, when I see an older artist saying they just re-signed again, and Jerry Lee Lewis is going to do a new album for Capitol, I go, why? He can do it himself. He must know where his fans are. He's been around the country 27 times. Right? Maybe he just doesn't want to. I don't know. But the thing is that you might as well. Now I'm looking to probably sell my music over the internet as soon as they can figure out how to make it so that you can sell and get your just reward.
Yeah, and I actually was reading that you were thinking about, for your next record, to do like a lot beyond just selling it. You were thinking about doing a webcam while you're recording. Is that true?
Yeah,
that was the plan.
Well, that was the idea. It's called Today's Music, and Jim, on that Senate hearing that was just on, that's what Roger McGuinn said he's been doing. He puts a folk song a day on this album. It's a website for traditional music, public domain stuff.
Right.
You know, and so. I thought, well, let's just write one up and play it and call it Today's Music. We'll sell it to you one day at a time.
It's a good idea.
If you can back it up, you got to do it. Some days will be great ones, but you know, how many albums you got that got 10 good ones on it?
They all can't be winners, right?
If you got an album with 3 good ones on it, you got a good one.
Exactly. Another element of your music, and people that have been following your career know this, is your fascination with Belize. I mean, you mentioned you have a home there. What is it about that island and about that location that you find so inspiring?
Well, it's within 2 hours of Texas, and it feels like you really step back in time. It's barefoot sand streets, charming fishing village where I am out on Amber's Key, little town of San Pedro. And very nice people, and it's a time that's different. It takes me back to when I was a kid almost. leave your house doors open and
It sounds
stuff.
like a very peaceful place.
It
which I
is
guess
very
would be
nice.
conducive to, for
Well,
being
it's an
creative.
island. You can't really steal anything because where are you going to go with it? It's 2.5 miles long. So, I mean, everybody knows everybody. There's your dog. And then, when the kids were real little, they'd go to town and I could call it down there when they were 14 so they could go in and out of the bars and dance and mix. And I didn't have to worry about it. I could call down and say, hey, have you seen my son? Yeah, Django just he went out of the Tarzans and went into Fido's. Okay.
That's the way it should be. That's
Yeah.
the way it should be. Another thing you just mentioned actually is your autobiography, Gypsy Songman, which came out last year, 1999, I believe. What was it about this particular time that you felt it was the time to put down your story on paper?
Oh, I don't know. It was a challenge. It was in front of me. We started gathering the facts around 92. Earl Casey was the vice president of CNN, and he was a big fan, and he helped me research where I was at what time and place and what was going on, and kept sort of prodding me. And I was recovering from back surgery and laying around, and we kind of got this little pile of stuff, and I would jot a little piece of information. And then about 1997 or 8, an old newspaper publisher from Texas took over Woodford Publishing up by San Francisco, and he was doing a couple books with Dan Jenkins and some friends and a book on baseball, and he said, Jackie Jack, whenever you're ready to tell your story, I'll publish it. And I thought, well, then I don't have to even go sell it. Nothing like finishing it and then having to go sell it to somebody. So I said, well, I know it'll get out if I finish it, so I'm going to do it. So that was it. Then once I made up my mind, I had to do it.
Did you surprise yourself at all along the way as you were gathering information, like in recalling your life? What was the most surprising thing you remembered?
I'm not going to tell you.
Come on.
Read the book. I tried to bear it all in there, but
All right.
you kind of, you just don't know. There's no plan here. There's no thing. You're just putting bands together, breaking them up with marriage, divorces. It's just kind of and we were roaring through the 60s and 70s, and it was amazing. There were just a few kind of stretched and strained relationships, but I think through it all, we were still standing there.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to read it then.
Okay.
Get all the juicy details.
I tried to make it as fun as I could
Right.
with kind of putting what was going on in my mind at the time.
I read a quote from you recently where you said you write things down to discover things about yourself. You were talking about your songwriting. Is this still a valid statement today when you're writing music?
What somebody said is, the quote that I remember where it came from said, you don't write down to know what you already know, you write down to know what you don't know. You kind of discover as you write. That's something people just don't quite understand, but you kind of have an idea what this thing is, but as you write, it takes its own shape, and you maybe resolve a question, come to some conclusion. That's kind of the fun of doing it.
And you still get that kind of clarity from writing music and writing everything down.
I'm kind of ready to go to work. I think I'm going to be, I've got a couple weeks in August, I'm down in New Orleans, and then I've got, I think October, November, I've got some time. So
Put together a new album?
Yeah, I've got about 3 projects in mind. One is an album of standards, one, somebody wants me to do one just me and a guitar and harmonica, which has never been done.
Wow.
And then one with the band and maybe a little New Orleans mix.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Little accordion and squeeze box and
Excellent, excellent.
stuff.
You've been doing this for over 30 years, making music. Sorry.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Great, thank
my
you.
back just got hurt.
But what do you attribute your longevity to?
I think being interesting, and the people have to check it out, and I hope I've touched some lives along the way. I mean, when I play big, like I just played a lot of 4th of July stuff in Texas, we were busy all over that weekend, and to see people holding up their kids, singing the songs that have been part of their lives, that's fun.
Yeah.
And that makes it worthwhile. And we've had some humor, we've had some gritty stuff, and we make a joyful noise, hopefully.